let's have a look at who this qualification is actually aimed at. As Eileen has said, it's because it's the essentials. It's about getting people ready, you know, to come into this role. But actually, it is still relevant to people who have been doing the role. You know, we'll talk a little bit about that further on. But so who it's for is obviously PMO directors, but we know that they come with different titles. So it could be like heads of projects, or, you know, portfolio director, or, you know, it could be any of those kind of terms. But here's just a selection of them as to who this particular qualification is for.
Yes, and I think that is that final paragraph really that to me really broadens it out to as it needs to be, because it's anybody that has a role for that overall PMO design across the organisation. And we deliberately kind of say new or aspiring. So for people who kind of just gone into that role and are really kind of saying, well, actually, I don't just want to think about what this organisation thinks it is. I actually want to get an understanding of what the role can be and the breadth and the depth of what can be included. And for those people who are perhaps sitting as a PMO manager, or maybe sitting as a project or a program manager, or even what we found, people who've sat in the business who've been a sponsor for some large programs, understand how projects and programs can contribute to the organisation, actually are coming in at that PMO director role to say, well, actually, I've been an operational manager. I know what the business needs. I might not be a detailed project manager or have ever delivered a project, but I actually know how the setup would work, and I'll work with specialists to make sure the projects are being delivered. So again, for those individuals who perhaps don't want to have all of that kind of detailed experience of working in detail in projects and program managers, this is a great kind of catch up to say, well, actually, this is where the focus of the PMO director role is.
Do you think that, just throwing in a question, but it doesn't really matter what size your organisation is to be a PMO director?
Oh no, absolutely. That's been a really kind of fascinating, as we've kind of rolled out the other 3 certifications. We get a lot of people who, even at the administrator course or the analyst course, say, well, actually, I'm expected to design the PMO, what services I provide. Well, so is that a manager? So is there any other PMOs? No, we're doing everything. So it's really interesting that even in a really small organisation, some of those aspects of a PMO design actually can sit with somebody who doesn't have the job of a PMO director. And it's really interesting in terms of, and again, some of the really good discussions we have when we've been talking about kind of the course material is, well, actually, who should have this job as a PMO director? So if you think you've got it, but actually you're not sure you have the authority, again, some of the things we'll talk about on the course is not just kind of what's expected of your role, but essentially what authority the organisation needs to give you in order for you to be able to do that role effectively. And so, you know, kind of coming out of the courses, the individuals who attend have a better picture of what can be involved, but often go away with a renewed ability to be able to have those conversations with the organisation to say, you've appointed me in this role in order to make the best of it. This is what we need in terms of kind of to make that happen from an authority perspective, and actually then start thinking about how to do that role in the organisation.
I mean, obviously, with any kind of qualifications, or certainly at this particular level, there's always going to be prerequisites. So you can see there on the screen, these are the prerequisites. Essentially, with prerequisites for this, you know, this qualification is being developed by a house of PMO, but it's accredited by APMG International. And like any qualification, when it comes to prerequisites, sometimes I'm quite loose, but actually these are, you have to be able to demonstrate, don't you, in order to be able to sit the exam.
And I think there's this for a number of reasons. Certainly from the ATO's perspective, when the training providers are providing the training, it becomes quite difficult if you're trying to talk at one particular level and you've got somebody on the course who's perhaps not had, who doesn't have the prerequisites, and then you know it becomes really difficult to kind of keep the conversation at the right level, because you've got to keep dipping down to try and kind of bring them up. But also from a delegate perspective, yes, what you want to do is you want to go on the Essentials of PMO Director course and meet other people who are in a similar role to you. So the APM group are very firm about the prerequisites, and any of the training providers who sign up to deliver these courses will be required to check that you have those prerequisites. So there is a chance. We do recognise, you know, if you've come up through kind of PMO, then essentially you might have done your essentials for PMO managers, or you will have a practitioner certificate in, you know, we know kind of any real kind of project program management discipline. You know, we've always said it's Catholic. It covers, you know, kind of all APM, PMI, Agile, the whole kind of suite. Or if you've worked within a PMO, 3 years experience of working with a PMO environment. So that could be 3 years working on a big program as a sponsor would get you through that prerequisite. So have a conversation, but it just means that the people who are attending on the course are going to be people who are doing a similar role, so the conversation is at the right level, and also, to be fair, to give you the best chance of passing the exam when it comes to doing the exam.